It finally happened. Friends have told me over and over again, the internet has told me over and over again that I need to read Carry On. Earlier this summer I made a video about queer books and I mentioned Carry On as one that I needed to get on for this summer. Summer has been going by. I've been treating myself to a lot of queer books lately, more on that later. So when I finished Red, White, and Royal Blue at the very beginning of July, I dove straight in to Carry On. I have so many feelings about this, and they're not the kind of feelings that I thought I would have. I was expecting to like fall in love and gush, and it was sort of a completely different journey that was like a different kind of nostalgia. Before I jump in, if you're new here, my name is Tiernan. I talk about books. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel, and please give this video a thumbs up. Like, just go ahead and do that now. If you're not following me on social media, we have a good time over there. The links to my Twitter and Instagram will be in the description. Let's jump in. Well, before I get into anything too spoilery, Carry On is the first book of the rise and fall of Simon Snow. We were first introduced to Simon Snow in Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which I read in January of 2014. This is one of those books that I have very specific memories of reading. It was like a winter break. All I did during this like period of a few days was like sit in my basement and read this book. Such a good time. So Rainbow Rowell is definitely known for her contemporaries like Eleanor and Park and Landline and Fangirl. And throughout Fangirl, if you haven't read it, she's obsessed with this Harry Potter-like story, and we see different glimpses into that series, her take on it. So after Fangirl came out, that sort of sat there for a minute. Everyone was kind of like, we love Simon and Baz. I don't know why I'm explaining this in 2019, I'm the last person to read it. Rainbow Rowell decided to write her own take on those characters, dive into their story, and Carry On now exists. Last year we found out that Carry On was getting a sequel. Reading the synopsis now that I've read Carry On, it sounds like such a Hollywood sequel, like, and they're going on a road trip. They're going to California and it's gonna be crazy. But I actually think it has potential to be like so much fun, and I have a lot of hopes about it. I liked Carry On a lot. There were a few things that like didn't match the expectations, and maybe it's my fault for having those expectations, but truthfully, I'm ready for Wayward Son. I'm ready to dive in. So I'm gonna get spoilery real quick now. I don't know why. Maybe because I've seen so much online about like Simon and Baz. I've seen the fan art. Everyone's always fangirling about Simon and Baz. So I was ready for like page 100, they're making out. That was not the case with Carry On, which is fine. It doesn't need to be like that. It's just what I thought might happen. Carry On is a nice, slow burn, queer, magical story. I thought the magical universe was really interesting. I listened to the audiobook, all the different voices, all the different perspectives. This is a book where I was really happy with that. Like, I really enjoyed jumping between the characters, the length of the chapters, seeing Lucy throughout, like her chapters I thought were really intriguing to come back to, and I loved how that unfolded. Simon read very childish to me, and so it became clear by the end of part 1 that this was not gonna be what I thought it was. It was going to be more of a Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone like, which, okay, great, fine. I thought the world of their school, the humdrum, was fascinating. I have been out of the fantasy, the sci-fi, like every dystopia, alternate universes, like I've been out of those books for so long. The last one I read was Six of Crows. I think I just really burnt out, and now when I read things, I want them to be things I can like kind of immediately latch on to. Like, I was always the person in math class during the most important part of the lesson. Like, my eyes would glaze over and I would be thinking about so many other things, and I would tell myself that I was paying attention, but I was not retaining anything. And that's how I've become when it comes to world building in books. And like, I can get through it, obviously. Like, I understand the world. It took a couple moments of like, oh, okay, got it. Once you get past the sort of like Harry Potter likeness of it, or maybe you don't have to get past it. I had to get past it, and then I could accept it as a new world. It was fun. I had the most fun with like the friendships with Penelope and Agatha. I'm really hoping that Agatha is in Wayward Son. I think she definitely will be. Like, come on. This is the kind of book they would call compulsively readable. I was on the road when I was listening to it, so I was like just in the back seat of this car with my headphones on, and I would listen to like 150 pages a day, and it was wild. It was an insane journey. Because sometimes it felt like, you know, things were obviously moving forward, but I much more felt like the tension and the frustration, especially in part 1 when he's just wondering where Baz is, and he keeps not being there for like way longer than I think any other author would have made him not show up. Baz does not show up for so long. These illustrations, I thought were the coolest. I felt like an ant reading this book. I was like, oh, this is so neat. Simon and Baz flirting in the last quarter of the book, I thought was really sweet, like when they're at Baz's place. I wanted more of that. I wanted more throughout, and then I wanted more after. I wanted more in the end. More gay in the sequel, please. When it came to Simon discovering his sexuality, that is where I just had issues. I think Simon definitely could have been bi, or at least thought about that idea. You know, he's with Agatha. I really thought there's a line where it gets a little funky where Simon is like, I guess I'm probably gay, which relatable. But I don't know, just reading it now, maybe things like, were we talking about the spectrum in 2015? Like, I don't know. There were a lot of times where I forgot that this was even a Rainbow Rowell novel, where I would normally be comparing it to her other books. Like, this one is so different, and she killed it. I absolutely see how this would be better a second time and then a third time. Like, there's so many things that are just delicately spaced where it's almost like you need to study it. Because I finished it and I was like, okay, I want to go back and read this chapter where this was planted. And I'm not going to do that by any means, but I get it. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite. It's not my total cup of tea. I gave it 4 stars. I think I might like Wayward Son even better because I think it will be more distilled in the storytelling, much more of a singular adventure rather than having to build the world all over again. Because I really do love the characters and they were my favorite part of this, and I think we will be much more focused on them and their adventure. If you love this book, I'd love to hear why. If you don't love it, I'd love to hear why. Let's discuss in the comments. I finally read it. I did it. I said I would and I did it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.